Hello, Internet. Hello. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Welcome back. This is part 4 of the looking at the SSP by Percussa. If you haven't checked out the other 3 videos that I've done prior to this, do check them out. They're available on my channel, so do have a look at them. We've already looked at sample playback in the first one. We've looked at building synth voice in the second one. Last week we looked at MIDI control, hooking up external MIDI controllers. And then this week we're going to look at using external CV control. So we're going to plug some of the hardware modules in and use these to modulate things inside of the SSP. In fact, I'm just going to unpatch some of this as well while we're on here. So thanks for joining us, everyone who's joining us live. You can talk to me, ask questions. That's why we're doing this live. But also in the chat room, you've got Bert and Celine from Percussa. So they can also answer some questions. They'll keep an eye on things in there as well. So yeah, it's good to see you all joining me. Everyone can hear me, that's good. Scott's here, Omri's here. Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining us. I think it's best doing it as a live stream like this, like I say, so you can ask questions as we go along. So I've had the SSP now for quite a few weeks, and I've been using it quite a lot. And as like any module you're going to get, you're going to start thinking, you know, how am I going to use this? What am I going to use this for? And I'm going to use it for a lot of things. I think you know, the things that I've done over the past 3 videos already, the sample playback, synth voices, effects, and there's a big update coming soon as well, which is going to allow you to send over the USB audio and CV as well, which is coming, which is going to change things radically. So if that's in place soon, I think I'm going to do a video on that using the new Ableton CV tools, that kind of thing as well. So we'll hopefully have a look at that soon. It is a big module, like I say, but it does a lot for the real estate that you've got in there. So it can basically allow you to eradicate a lot of individual modules just for one big one, really. It's great. It's very fast. It's super powerful. And this reverb is just fantastic. I think I've gone on about this in a few of the other videos, but I think the reverb on it is absolutely brilliant. There's updates coming all the time. I know Bert and Celine's always working hard on this as well to update things, and the forum's very active. So there's always new updates coming out and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think we'll more or less kick off. It's 7:05. What you're listening to here is I've just got some MIDI chords playing out of Ableton. They're going through an arpeggiator, and the arpeggiator, I've got the MIDI LFO just kind of randomizing the shift transposition, and you get this sort of movement in the sound. Sounds like I'm doing a lot, but actually it's just playing 3 different chords, and it's the transposition that's kind of making it sound more complicated. What I'm going to do, I'm going to continue. In fact, I'll just take off the arpeggiation and the LFO for now, and I'm just going to continue kicking out some MIDI. Basically, I'm sending out MIDI from Ableton into the SSP using the USB port on the front. So for context, that's how the sound's being generated. Everything that you're hearing is coming out of the SSP right now. And what I've got going on here, I've got this polyphonic patch going on. It's a beautiful patch, 8 voice patch. And the way that it's made up, in fact, I'll just take you through it. Because we haven't really talked about polyphony too much inside of the SSP, but obviously it can do polyphony really, really well. You're hearing it right now. This is 8 voices it's playing back. So what you've got is, on the SSP, you've got Got voice 1 here, which is made up of an oscillator, an envelope, MIDI input. Second voice, the same. Oscillator, its own envelope, and a MIDI input as well. And you've got 8 of these. If we scroll over, voice 3, same. Voice 4, the same. Voice 5, the same. Voice 6, the same. Voice 7, the same. And voice 8, the same. Now, obviously, you could have, and one of the things that I like to do is just check everyone can hear me. Everyone can hear me okay, can't they? You can hear my voice, yeah. One of the things that I like to do is I'll probably sometimes have a different type of oscillator per voice. You've got 8 voices here, so sometimes I'll have slightly different oscillators. And with these being wavetable oscillators, I showed you this in one of the previous videos, but there's a lot of different, well, you can load up basically pretty much any waveform into here and have your own wavetable playing back, and you've got the X, Y, Z axis as well to modulate the timbre of the waveform, if you like, the size of the waveform and what have you. And you're going to get much more interesting kind of sonic characteristics if you've got different sort of waveforms going on as well. Sounds a little bit quiet. Okay, let me just check this out a second. That should be a little bit better. So we've got 8 voices going on here. Now what's cool about these 8 voices is that all of the 8 voices, they're getting MIDI sent in. I'll just turn down the synth a minute just so you can hear me a little bit more. They're all getting MIDI sent in. The way that MIDI's working, as the MIDI comes in, it kind of goes in a round robin fashion. And all of the oscillators are being sent to a bus. Now the cool thing about the SSP, it's got this bus system. And the bus system essentially works a little bit like you'd have on a mixing desk, which allows you to send anything basically into the bus, more or less. I think anything really. And it allows you to combine signals into the bus and send those signals somewhere else. So because we've got 8 different oscillators going on here, we can send them all into a bus and send that bus to, in this case, we're sending the bus into a filter. So that filter is then being applied to all of the voices. It's that beautiful, silky, smooth filter. That they've built in this SSP. Really, really nice. And that's so convenient, because using this busing system to combine signals and send it to a single place in the SSP is really, really useful. Otherwise, you'd have to replicate the same routing system multiple times, which you don't want to do. So again, I think that's really well thought about the way signals are sent internally in the SSP. Using this busing system can save a lot of time, basically, routing signals to lots and lots of different places. So that's all being combined, going through that filter you've just heard, and then that filter then goes finally into this reverb we're hearing, and then that goes to a physical output, which we're hearing here, these 2 outputs here. In fact, we don't need this output currently, so we're just using output 1 and 2. So that's this patch for context. Like I say, the MIDI's coming in, that's what's playing the chords, and all you're hearing is the SSP. I'm just going to roll off some of this reverb so you can hear the kind of static oscillators there playing. There we go. So as you can hear, the sound is quite static. It's not very vibey. We've got 8 oscillators here. There's a lot of things that we could do with them. We can modulate. With these being wavetable oscillators, and we've got the X, Y, Z on each of the oscillators, we could actually modulate that X, Y, or Z axis using external CV or internal CV. If I was to use internal CV, I would probably just grab something like the LFO which is here. I'd put the LFO in, I'd connect the LFO to the wavetable oscillator. And with the LFO, I've mentioned the LFO before, you've got sine wave, square wave, you've got all these different waveforms. And I'll probably connect that to the X of the wavetable oscillator. Sorry, wrong one, this one. You can see that they're connected now. If I just slow that down a little bit, have a nice slow LFO now. That LFO is now modulating the wavetable oscillator's X axis, and you can see that moving. That was nice and easy. That's just how easy it is to whack in an LFO and route it to wherever you want it to go and have it modulate something. Because we've got 8 voices here stacked up, we probably want to copy and paste this LFO to each of the 8 voices so we can really hear this movement going on. So what's really convenient, and this is really cool as well on the SSP, is that you can copy and paste these modules. So this LFO I've got set up now, I can actually copy it, and there's the copy and paste is down here. Copy is the bottom left. Copy, scroll over to where I want to put it and hit paste, and that's now pasted it in. All I've got to do is attach that to the oscillator next to it and tell it where I want it to connect it, in this case X-axis. And you can hear those 2 oscillators now are starting to move a little bit more because the X-axis is being modulated. Can you hear that? So again, I can just copy that LFO over to the 3rd voice. Sorry, paste that in. Connect it to the oscillator. Maybe I'll connect this one to the Y-axis of that oscillator. So now we've got 2 oscillators with the X-axis being modulated, and we've got a 3rd oscillator with the Y-axis being modulated. And you can already hear you've got this more interesting movement going on. Nice and simple to do. Okay, now I didn't bring you all here today to talk about internal LFOs. I want to show you about using external stuff. Now I've got a whole load of modules here that I could use for external modulation with the SSP. I've got MATTHS, I've got ZR, I've got other oscillators that I can use, I've got Just Friends, I've got Tempi, I've got a load of stuff over here that I could use. And I thought what I'd do is probably use MATTHS, and we'll plug that in and replace these LFOs that I've just put in here with the MATTHS instead. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to delete these LFOs because we don't need those, and the delete is 1, 2, 3, the 4th key along, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the top row. That's that LFO gone. That's that LFO gone. And what you can actually do, this is pretty cool as well. So this is the 3rd saving. So the first time saving thing was using a bus to send signals around. The second one, which they've put in there, which was really useful, which is this one, which is basically allows you to replace, sorry, the second one was copy and paste, and this one, which I'm putting in now, allows you to basically replace a module with a different module. Because we've got this LFO already plugged in that I patched into the oscillator, I can actually replace that module just by highlighting it. Instead of deleting it and then replacing it, what I do, I just select it, and I'm going to choose the input module, and that input module now gets replaces the LFO, and it keeps that same connection, which is going to the X of the oscillator. So that's really cool. That's just saved me having to do a little bit of wiring. It just remembered it, which is really great. Right, this input module. Now this is the important bit. like I say, this is about using external modulation. We need to get external modulation, external CV into the SSP. And the way we do that, we use the input module, which I've just put in here. Let's have a look at the input module. I'll just turn the synth down a minute. Let's go in and have a look in there what we've got in the input module. The input module, first of all, it shows you the four first inputs that you're looking at, which are the four first physical inputs on the SSP. So when you get an input, a CV going into this, it will show you on the chart actually what the signal is doing. You have a gain for that signal, which can go above 1. You've got bias next to it, which essentially bias is offset, basically. So it allows you to offset that signal very, very easily. And you've also got a routing system here, which allows you, I won't go into this too much right now, but it allows you to send inputs on the SSP to multiple places within the SSP as well, in a quick and convenient way. I won't go into that now, because what I want to just quickly show you really is getting the external modulation in here. So I'm going to do that using MATTHS, and then we'll connect that to the oscillator. Now the input module is already connected to the oscillator. It's connected to modulate the X input, just like the LFO was. So in theory, all we need to do is attach MATTHS into here. So let me get a cable, and I'm going to take MATTHS 1, and I'm going to plug that into physical input number 1 here on the SSP. And if I start cycling MATTHS, we can see down now on this input, physical input 1, we can see that is MATTHS CV input coming in here. Now, one thing to note, obviously, if you're using an input that is more than 5 volts, so these inputs are plus or minus 5 volts. If you've got more, if you've got something like 10 volts or whatever, you might want to scale that before it comes in to you might want to scale that before it comes into the SSP, of course. So you could use that. You could use any sort of external modules that you might have. I've got the ATOF, ATOF or something like that, to decrease the value so it's not kind of square waving your beautiful modulation signal that's coming in. So just keep that in mind. So there we go. We've got the input coming in. We're not hearing it do anything at the minute, because we need to tell the SSP to listen to number 1, and to activate it, we've got 1 to 8 down here. We turn on 1. We might actually be able to hear the oscillator X-axis start to modulate. Yeah, can you hear that? If I just play with MATTHS a little bit. There we go. That's how easy it is, folks, to get external CV into the SSP. That simple. Let's keep going. So on the SSP, I've got 8 voices here. So why don't I copy that module, the input module, and paste it in over onto the second voice. So I can modulate it and assign it again to the X-axis of the second voice. So now we've got both voices going. Let's paste that on the third voice. I'll just do this quickly. Maybe I'll modulate the Y-axis on this one. So this one's doing the Y-axis of that oscillator. The other two are doing the X-axis. paste that one in, and select and that. Let's go x-axis again. Paste. Paste. That's how quick it is. There's a learning curve with this module, just like any modules, but you can soon get up to speed. I'm pretty quick with this now, getting there. He says. There we go. So now all oscillators have got input 1 assigned to modulate the X value of the oscillator. You can see if I change the speed of MATTHS, you can see it changes the speed. And we've suddenly got a really vibey sound. Now if I go back over, let's just add that reverb back on. You can never have enough too much reverb. So there we go. Just quickly have a look in the chat room, see if you've got any questions there that I need to have. No, Percussa's asking there yet. Yeah, you could use a simple attenuator, I guess, for offsetting the module, but obviously you can do that inside of the SSP. The other thing I should mention as well about being able to scale things in the SSP is that, as well as having the gain here, which again, like I say, you've got plus and minus values of that. You've got the offset. Sorry, to get to the offset, you push down to get to that next row. So I could offset that. But you've also got, don't forget, on every sort of connection, you've got this value here, which allows you to scale as well. I've shown you this before in other videos, but I can scale the value also here. So there's kind of 3 opportunities there to play around internally with the scaling and the gain structure, if you like, of the modulation coming into the module, which is pretty cool. Okay, what else can we modulate? Well, why don't we modulate the filter as well? We've got a filter on here, so why don't we use output 4 of MATTHS and send that into the SSP and open and close the filter. So yeah, let's do that. Grab a cable and let's take output 4 and let's just go. I'm going to go into input 4 just for ease. Keep those things kind of connected. And what we're going to do is connect the input module to the filter. And let's go into the input module and have a look. We haven't got anything coming into 4 at the minute. That's because I haven't got MATTHS cycling. If I cycle MATTHS, we can see now we've got a signal coming in on 4. There it is. And that's going to control the filter. All I've got to do is activate it to say that it's activated. So input 4 is activated. And then what we need to do over here is route the signal to the SVF. So we've got the 2 modules connected, and we've got input 1, input 2, input 3, and we're in input 4, the physical input 4, and we want to send physical input 4 to the SVF cutoff. And that's now connected. We're not really hearing it do much because the filter's all the way open. But if I was to close the filter, you're now hearing MATTHS opening and closing that filter. You can see that here. So you've got one side of MATTHS controlling the filter, one side of MATTHS controlling the X value of the oscillators. Now we could get a little bit funky here. This is MATTHS after all, and let's do some of this. I don't know. Let's take the sum output and plug that into 3. These are the tendrils cables, by the way, which I'm a big fan of. There we go. So we've got something a little bit more interesting going on there. Just check, see if we've got any questions. Okay, no, we're all good. Okay, now that's all very well. MATTHS is kind of doing its own thing, though. We got video. Yeah, sorry, thought we had a little blackout there. MATTHS is currently just cycling round in its own way. I've just turned on the manual cycle, so MATTHS isn't receiving any kind of clock or anything like that currently. So I'm just going to check this video feed. So what it'd be good to do is basically send or synchronize somehow whenever a note gets played in Ableton. It'd be great if it then triggered these envelopes inside of MATTHS. So what I'm saying is it plays a chord inside of Ableton, and then it triggers MATTHS at the same time as it plays a chord, and then it triggers a gate basically to trigger these basically in there. So everything's synchronized, because at the minute all you've got is MATTHS just kind of running free fall, if you like. It's just doing its own thing. So that's what we'll do. Just going to reboot this camera. So, in order to do this, in order to kind of sync it with Ableton, what we can do is route the MIDI, which is going in here. I'm on camera. We can route the MIDI, which is coming in here, and we can send the gate output out of one of the 8 outputs. These 8 outputs can send both CV or audio. So we can basically send, whenever there's a note on a gate, it'll send that gate output out of here. We can then send it to MATTHS to trigger the envelope, basically. Nice and simple. So let's do that, in fact. So we need to set up a MIDI input, which we've got, and we need a physical output module, which we've got. And what we're going to do is we're going to connect the MIDI to the output, so those two can talk together. So we hold down Shift, connect those two together, and we want to look in the list of all the MIDI things, all the possible routing. We're going to go, we don't want velocity, we don't want pitch, we want gate. We don't want to send it to the oscillator. We want to send a gate to a physical output, which is one of the yellow ones. Again, these are color coded. And let's use output 1, 2, 3, 4, output 5, this one here. I'm going to send the output 5 out, and I'm going to send the output 5 into the trigger input of MATTHS here. That's what I'm going to do. So for that, I need a cable. And we'll take output 5. And I'll plug that into the trigger input of MATTHS. And let's go back here and connect the gate output from number 5 to go to output 5. Sorry, to go to output 5 over here. Make sure that we've got output 5 also activated on the output module. You can see we have. So if I now, in theory, that should work. If we go back over to here and turn the cycling off, MATTHS, and now whenever a note gets played, it's triggering MATTHS envelope over here, which is changing the X value of the oscillators. And of course, the more we play with this, we find the sweet spot. We can also then copy that basically and open and close the filter in the same way. So let's take output 6 and let's trigger MATTHS with that. Turn off cycle like so. And what we want to do is use the MIDI gate to trigger MATTHS. MATTHS envelope will then open the filter. So in order to do that, let's connect those two together, MIDI and the SVF. We want to send the output to output 6 like so. Output 6, make sure we activate it in the output 1. And you can hear now, whenever there's a note, the filter's opening and closing. Let's put a little bit more reverb on, vibe it out a little bit more. And let's bring in some drums. These drums are just coming from Ableton. There we go. That is basically external modulation into the SSP. Jason in the chat room is talking about making his own plugins this winter. Don't forget that the SSP does have the ability to host VSTs within here as well. But but they must be compiled, I believe, using Linux as well. So you've got to be a bit of a Linux guru. Let's see if there's any other questions. Are we combining both external hardware and DAW software here? Yeah, the drums are coming from Ableton. That is just playing back a sampler within there, and the MIDI is coming from Ableton via USB straight into the front of Percussa, just here, via the USB input. So there's that. Any other questions that we might have? Yeah, Andy, do check out the other videos that I've done prior to this. I think they'll be really helpful for you. Let's see what else. Just take drums out. Now at the beginning of the show I had the remember I was using Max for Live LFO and the arpeggiator. Let's just chuck that back in and see what that's like. So you're just hearing MIDI transposition there happening, and the arpeggiator now. Slow it down a little. Bit of swing. Just see if we've got any other questions. Yeah, you got that, Andy. Nice one, mate. Yeah, so that's it really, just to summarize. It's essentially that simple. You use the input. The input talks to the physical inputs on here. Remember, you've got 16 inputs on the front of the SSP. I know Bert at Percussa is working on having more inputs and outputs happening over the USB as well, over this, which hopefully will be coming. So you'll have that in addition to those, and then you've got the 8 outputs as well. So to summarize what I'm doing, I'm sending triggers out of the SSP to trigger MATTHS envelopes. MATTHS envelopes are then coming in, and they are then being routed wherever you want inside of the SSP, and you use the input module basically is the hub for all of these things, and it's as simple as that basically. See MATTHS working, going crazy there. I've got some cross modulation stuff going on, so yeah. Is it then possible to send an SSP LFO to an output? Yep, you can. In the same way that you would just basically route an LFO to the output module over there and then send it out of the output. So we would take the LFO, connect it to the output, and then just choose what you want to send out of which output. Remember, you've got 8 outputs, so you've got the 8 outputs listed, 1 to 8, and then here you can send the sine wave output of that LFO, or the sawtooth, or the square wave, or the triangle, or the offset of it, the negative versions of each one. So you can basically send all of those different types of LFOs out of the 8 outputs, or combine them together using a bus and send that then out of a single output, and send it back into the modular as well. So very, very flexible in the way that it can do all those things as well. See if we've got any other questions. No, I think we've got it then. I guess it's just thinking about how you would use it, in what way, and what's going to work for you. Have we got that back? Yeah, we've got the camera back. This camera went down for a minute there. I don't know what happened there. So, yeah, that's it. That's got this interesting modulated voice going on, albeit I'm using some of the MIDI stuff going on in Ableton, but it's certainly a more interesting sound than I originally had, with a touch of the reverb. If we haven't got any other questions, I'll leave it at that for this week, I think. Thanks everyone who's joined us today. Hopefully, it's been useful. I believe you can go straight away to the Percussa website, and you can get hold of one of these and order them. Order them now and get your hands on them. And also join the forum as well. If you want to know a little bit more of this, check out the forum. There's a lot of people on there talking about stuff, looking at updates, if you've got any suggestions or any other questions as well, it's the best place to go. There's a Facebook page for it all as well, and that kind of thing. So yeah, if there's no other questions, just check out the other videos that I've done, and then if any come up, or if you want a particular video, if you want me to do a particular video on anything inside of this, let me know. Just send me an email, hit me up on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook or whatever, and I'll sort one of those out. If we've got the USB stuff working for next week, maybe that's going to be the next video, and we'll look at Ableton and CV tools, and we'll kick some modulation in and out over USB and some audio from Ableton to the SSP and back. I think that might be a cool video to do, and maybe that'll round things off just for now, and hopefully that's given you guys enough of an overview of some of the possibilities that this can do right now. But like I say, there's much more for this to come. This module can handle a lot more than it's currently doing. Just lastly check. No, we're all good. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, thanks very much again for joining us. Do like and subscribe and share this video if you can. Really appreciate it. I hope these are really useful for you. Give it a thumbs up, give it a like. That'd be really great. And yeah, share it and all that kind of thing. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening, and I'll fade out with some weird stuff. Nice one.